Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. Last year, only 33% of employees actually felt engaged at work, which is, that means two-thirds of the modern workforce is essentially checking out.
Yeah, it's honestly a staggering number when you hear it out loud, two-thirds.
Right. And we have, the highest definition video calls in history. We have instant messaging on our phones, our laptops, our watches, yet we're looking at a professional landscape where employees are just, more isolated and disconnected than ever before.
Exactly. And the casual organic relationship building, the stuff that used to just happen automatically, it has completely evaporated.
He really is.
Because the modern distributed workplace has essentially killed the accidental hallway conversation.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it, the hallway conversation.
Yeah, those unstructured moments. Grabbing a coffee, walking out of a conference room together, asking a quick follow-up question that somehow turns into a half-hour whiteboard session.
The moments where mentorship naturally grew.
Precisely. Those were the environments where it just happened. Now those moments are gone, and they're replaced by this really rigid calendar system where everything has to be scheduled in formal 30-minute blocks.
And, scheduling a 30-minute block with, say, the VP of marketing just to ask for some career advice, that feels incredibly intimidating for a junior employee.
Oh, totally. It changes the entire dynamic. It makes it formal and scary.
Right. And that structural disconnect, that's the core mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking a highly comprehensive, really fascinating article by Felix Römer from smartkeys.org. It's titled Mentorship Matching Platforms, Building Connections in Remote Teams.
It's a fantastic read.
It really is. And this deep dive is custom tailored specifically for you listening. If you are a modern professional looking to, stay ahead of the curve, navigate the future of work, and genuinely boost business efficiency, consider this your master blueprint.
Yeah, it is an absolutely critical read for anyone in leadership or operations right now.
Yeah.
Because it frames mentorship not as this soft, warm and fuzzy HR perk, you know?
Right, not just a nice to have.
Exactly. It frames it as a hard structural requirement for a functioning company. If you cannot rely on physical proximity to foster development anymore.
Which we clearly can't.
Right. Then you have to engineer it. Organizations need a deliberate framework to restore that lost connection and basically turn informal, accidental learning into a measurable, scalable development strategy.
Okay, let's unpack this. If the root of the problem is that we are all isolated behind screens communicating through digital avatars and chat bubbles, is throwing more software at the problem really the way to manufacture human connection? It sounds entirely counterintuitive. You do not fix screen fatigue by adding another dashboard.
Yeah, that is the very first objection most leaders raise. It's the natural gut reaction. But Felix Römer's text gets right to the underlying why of this issue.
Okay, I'm listening.
Mentoring programs in large companies, they do not fail because people lack human interest. In fact, employees are craving connection more than ever right now.
So why do they fail then?
They fail because they are administratively impossible to scale manually. The software isn't there to replace the human connection. It's there to remove the administrative bottleneck that prevents the human connection from happening in the first place.
I see. Because relying on manual processes like giant Excel spreadsheets and scattered email threads for a global workforce, it's like being an air traffic controller equipped only with carrier pigeons.
That is exactly what it's like. I love that analogy.
It only takes a few crossed wires before the entire system just grinds to a halt. You might be able to manually pair 20 people, but you cannot manually pair 2,000.
You really can't. And that is exactly where the breakdown occurs. If an HR administrator is trying to manage a mentorship program using those manual tools, they are spending like 90% of their time just juggling time zones.
Oh, the time zone math alone is a nightmare.
Right. Tracking down who hasn't replied to an email or guessing who might be a good match based on like a single column in a spreadsheet. Progress stalls. People lose momentum.
So the administrative friction basically kills the program long before the mentors and mentees even get a chance to build a relationship.
Exactly. It dies in the inbox.
Which brings us to the end of the spreadsheet era. If the software is the solution to this bottleneck, how exactly does this technology function underneath the hood? What are the nuts and bolts that actually solve this scale problem?
At its core, mentoring software acts as a centralized engine. It handles the chaotic logistics so the humans just don't have to.
Make the robots do the busy work.
Yes. The platform automates the enrollment process. It dynamically builds out detailed user profiles, syncs directly with user calendars to manage scheduling across all those different time zones, and it actively tracks the health and progress of the relationship.
Now, the text outlines several non-negotiable features that these platforms absolutely must have. And I want to start with the matching quality, because frankly, if the match is bad, the entire exercise is pointless.
100%.
So how does the software actually pair people up better than an HR manager could?
It really comes down to multi-criteria matching algorithms. Historically, an admin might match a mentee and mentor simply because they work in the same department or the same city.
Right, you're both in Chicago, you should talk.
Exactly. But modern software looks at a really complex web of specific data points. We're talking hard skills the mentee wants to learn, their career trajectory goals, leadership styles, and even personal interests or lived experiences.
Oh, that's interesting. So imagine a mid-level marketing manager who needs to level up their data analytics skills, but they also want a mentor who understands the unique challenge of, say, returning to work after parental leave.
Yes, perfect example. A manual spreadsheet cannot effectively cross-reference those two completely different dimensions across a 5,000-person company.
No, you'd be staring at that Excel file for weeks.
But a multi-criteria algorithm can do it instantly. It weights both the professional skill requirement and the personal lived experience to find the optimal match.
Wow.
And the software even allows program administrators to adjust those weights. So for one program, you might prioritize geographic time zone alignment.
Just to make meetings easier.
Right. While in another program, you might prioritize cross-departmental mixing to break down silos. It gives you incredibly flexible options ranging from AI-driven auto-matching for massive scale to admin-curated matching, all the way to self-directed pairing where mentees browse a suggested pool of mentors.
That's incredibly powerful. But beyond the matching, the actual user experience seems paramount. The article points out that a clean interface is critical because, if it takes a 20-minute video tutorial just to figure out how to send a message to your mentor, people are just going to close the tab and never return.
Friction is the absolute enemy of adoption. Clear prompts, pre-built templates, guided communication flows, these are what help users get past that initial awkwardness and actually keep the momentum going week over week.
Right.
But I'd say the most vital mechanical feature mentioned in the text to reduce that friction is deep integration.
Okay, meaning what exactly?
We are talking about connecting the mentorship platform directly into your HRIS, your human resources information system, as well as your daily communication tools, things like Microsoft Teams, Slack, and Zoom.
Got it. Integrating with the HRS is essentially like giving the mentorship program a central nervous system, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
Like the moment a junior employee gets promoted or moves to a new department, the HR system automatically feels that shift, updates their profile in the mentorship platform, and perhaps triggers an alert to match them with a new senior lead for their new role. It makes the data dynamic instead of static.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. The HRIS integration keeps the foundational data accurate without anyone having to manually type it in. But the communication integration, Slack, Teams, Zoom, those are what keep the program alive day to day.
Because that's where everyone already is.
Exactly. The reality of the modern workplace is that context switching destroys productivity. If you force an employee to navigate away from their daily workflow, log into a totally separate, unfamiliar portal just to check a message from their mentor, participation will plummet.
People just won't do it.
No. But by integrating directly into Slack or Teams, the software meets people exactly where their attention already is. The nudges, the meeting reminders, the quick follow-up surveys, they all just pop up in the chat window the employee is already staring at all day.
Oh, so booking a session just becomes a one-click action that auto-generates a Zoom link right there in the chat.
Exactly. It drastically reduces no-shows and ghosting because it completely eliminates the friction of scheduling.
But, pulling all this data together, connecting employee performance profiles, private messages, and calendar details, that brings up a massive operational hurdle in my mind, which is enterprise security.
Absolutely. It's a huge deal.
Because you cannot just plug a third-party app into your highly confidential HR database and hope for the best. The text emphasizes that enterprise-grade security is not some optional add-on. It is the fundamental baseline, especially for these global rollouts.
Yeah, we are dealing with highly sensitive employee data here. The source explicitly mandates that these platforms must support heavy-duty security frameworks like SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, and full GDPR compliance.
Right. And for the HR leaders listening, this isn't just a bunch of alphabet soup. SOC2 Type 2, for instance, means an independent auditor has actually verified that the platform's security protocols work over a sustained period of time.
Right. It's not just a one-time check. It proves they can protect your company's data from breaches consistently.
And GDPR compliance ensures you aren't violating international data privacy laws if your mentorship program spans between, say, the US and Europe.
Exactly. And beyond just the global compliance, the role-based permissions really stood out in the text as a critical mechanic for protecting the actual human conversations.
Yes, I saw that. Why is that so important?
Well, it is essential for trust. Role-based permissions ensure that while a C-suite executive or an HR admin can see high-level aggregated data like how many sessions occurred this month overall, they absolutely cannot click in and read the private conversation notes between a mentor and a mentee.
Oh, that's crucial.
Yeah, it separates the strategic data needed to measure success for the private data needed to build psychological safety. Because if mentees think HR is reading their chats, they won't be honest.
So with all these sophisticated feature checklists, we're talking AI, multi-criteria matching, Slack integrations, heavy-hitting security protocols. How does a company know which tool actually fits their specific operational reality? Because a nimble 50-person startup does not need the same massive, heavily audited infrastructure as a Fortune 500 company.
No, they definitely don't. And Felix Römer's article provides a highly practical who's who roundup for this exact reason. It segments the platforms based on organizational size and complexity.
Let's run through those.
Sure. So for the massive global enterprises companies spanning multiple regions, languages, and really complex compliance environments, platforms like MentorSleekQ and Cronus are the heavyweights. MentorSleekQ is recognized for being highly configurable with incredibly robust ROI dashboards and all that heavy compliance architecture we just discussed.
In Cronus, they use an AI feature called Match IQ, right?
Yes. Instead of an admin blindly guessing who would get along, the AI looks at historical data points, skills gaps, and communication styles to predict a successful match.
It functions almost like a highly professional dating app algorithm.
Exactly, which the text notes is particularly powerful for driving large-scale diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives.
That makes total sense.
Though the text does include a small caveat that Cronus might not support complex group mentoring formats in all of its software releases, so buyers really need to verify that if group learning is a priority for them.
Good to know. But what if you were not a global enterprise? What's the play for mid-sized teams?
For mid-sized teams, the article highly recommends a platform called Together.
Okay, Together. It seems perfectly positioned for companies that need sophistication, but, without a brutal 6-month implementation phase.
Precisely. Together is praised for its highly intuitive user experience and extremely fast launch capabilities. It is designed to keep the administrative burden incredibly light while driving strong engagement. And it heavily relies on its seamless integration with Microsoft Teams to just keep the program in the flow of work.
Okay, and for the smaller businesses, or maybe a massive corporation that just wants to run an isolated pilot program for 50 people without committing to a huge upfront contract.
That is the sweet spot for
Cooper.
Yeah, it is highlighted as an excellent budget-friendly on-ramp. It delivers the core necessities, solid matching, progress tracking, and those vital HRIS and communication integrations. It basically makes it the ideal sandbox for testing a program's viability before you commit to a company-wide rollout.
And the text also carves out space for some specialized platforms too, right?
Yes. So 10KC provides pre-built, inclusive networking programs if you just don't want to design your own from scratch. Graduate is heavily tailored for university alumni networks and nonprofits.
Right.
Then you have Guider, which hyper-focuses on learning pathways and ROI tracking. PushFar is great for building expansive global mentor networks. And PLD, which offers really versatile relationship-first formats ranging from executive coaching all the way down to reverse mentoring.
So the real takeaway from this entire vendor landscape is that you cannot just shop based on shiny software demo.
No, absolutely not. You have to start by explicitly naming the business outcomes your program must deliver. You use those specific strategic goals to define your must-have features, and then you test the tools against your actual operational reality.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. All these seamless integrations, AI matching algorithms, security audits, they aren't free. If an HR leader wants to purchase this software, They eventually have to sit down and convince a CFO to approve the budget.
Oh, always.
So how do they prove this software is actually making the company money? Why should the C-suite care about this at all?
Because the right platform shifts mentorship from being a nice-to-have cultural perk, something that feels warm and fuzzy but is always the first thing slashed during a budget freeze, into a hard, measurable business strategy.
Okay.
These platforms capture the data necessary to tie the act of mentoring directly to real business outcomes.
So what does this all mean? I mean, data and executive dashboards are great for the CFO, but there is a real risk here. Are we reducing a fundamentally human relationship, one full of nuance and empathy, into just another sterile key performance indicator on an executive screen?
It is a valid concern, for sure, but what's fascinating here is that the data actually protects the relationship.
Protects it. How?
If you cannot mathematically prove the return on investment of the program gets cut. And then absolutely no one gets mentored. Executive-ready dashboards, especially when the software allows you to combine quantitative data with qualitative context, like real user quotes, they prove the program's undeniable value to the leadership.
Okay, so the data secures the funding. That makes sense. But how does that data actually help the participants while the program is running?
It acts as a real-time diagnostic tool. By segmenting the engagement data, administrators can see exactly which specific cohorts are struggling long before the relationships completely stall out.
Oh, I see. Think of a cohort of, say, 50 junior engineers paired with senior developers.
Yeah.
The source breaks the metrics down into leading and lagging indicators, right?
Yes.
The leading indicators are essentially your check engine light. It's the immediate data. Enrollment numbers, active session counts, meeting cadence, message volume, and quick pulse survey ratings.
Exactly. If your dashboard shows you in week 3 that 40 of those junior engineers have completely stopped messaging their mentors, you don't wait 6 months to find out the program failed.
Right, you'd be flying blind otherwise.
The leading indicators allow you to intervene immediately, find out where the friction is, and course correct.
And then the laggy indicators are the ultimate destination.
Yes. Lagging indicators are where you combine the mentorship platform's data with your broader HR metrics over time. You are tracking employee retention, internal lateral moves, and promotion velocity.
So 2 years down the line, you can pull a cohort comparison and mathematically prove to your CFO that the junior engineers who consistently met with their mentors were promoted, let's say, 20% faster, or stayed with the company 30% longer than those who did not participate.
Exactly.
That is the holy grail for HR. You are proving that an initiative directly impacts career mobility and drastically reduces the cost of employee turnover.
And once you understand that ROI, and you know the tools available, you have to actually build the thing. The article transitions from this theory into a highly practical implementation playbook.
Let's get into that.
If a leader listening to this wants to launch a high-impact program next quarter, the absolute first step is a bit surprising. You start by stepping away from the technology entirely.
Wait, really? You don't touch the software?
You do not touch the software until the architecture of the program is built. The text is adamant that program design comes first. You have to clearly define who the audience is, what specific success looks like for them, and the fundamental model of how you will pair people.
Because the source details 3 distinct models, right? Each serving a totally different strategic purpose.
Yep, 3 models. First is the traditional 1.1 mentoring. This is highly focused, individualized attention. It's typically deployed for deep leadership grooming or onboarding key new hires.
But 1.1 doesn't always scale well, especially if you have a shortage of senior talent willing to mentor.
Exactly. And that is where group mentoring comes in. It is a one-to-many approach, perfect for peer learning or for scaling the expertise of a single senior executive across a cohort of, say, 10 mid-level managers.
And finally, there is reverse mentoring, which is such a cool concept. It flips the traditional dynamic, pairing junior employees to mentor senior leaders.
It is a highly effective mechanism for driving DEI initiatives, surfacing ground-level cultural insights up to the C-suite, and bridging generational technology gaps.
So once you have defined the model, whether that's 1.1, group, or reverse, then you introduce the software to actually execute it. And the text emphasizes that the very first interaction an employee has with the software dictates their long-term success. The onboarding flow has to be absolutely frictionless.
A well-mapped onboarding flow warms up the participants. The platform provides structured templates, automated calendar invites, guided prompts. By supplying quick start guides and an initial meeting agenda, the software ensures both the mentor and the mentee start their first session strong.
It completely bypasses that awkward. So, what should we talk about?
Oh,
Chase.
Yes, it gets them straight to the value.
And then the platform shifts into sustaining that momentum through automation, right? Setting behavioral nudges, automated check-ins, post-session feedback surveys. But let me challenge this for a second.
Sure.
If we automate the nudges, generate the check-ins, and pre-package the agendas, do we risk making the mentorship experience feel robotic and manufactured?
It is a totally natural fear, but in practice, it achieves the exact opposite. The platform handles the rigid robotic logistics so that the human interaction can be purely organic and deeply meaningful.
Oh, I see.
Think about the cognitive load of scheduling. If you do not have to spend 20 minutes playing email tag to find a mutual meeting time, and you don't have to stress about coming up with a topic because you have a curated, reusable agenda from the platform's library, you enter the meeting completely relaxed.
That makes a lot of sense. You can spend that entire 30-minute block actually having a focused, empathetic human conversation. You essentially let the robots do the scheduling so the humans can do the connecting.
Perfectly said. It perfectly balances ease of use for the individual participants with measurable, trackable impact for the organization. And the text also highlights the importance of using the platform to deliver micro-training for participants too.
Like giving them tools to be better mentors.
Exactly. Supplying simple conversation guides and goal-setting frameworks cuts down the prep time and significantly raises the overall quality of the interaction.
Well, we have covered incredible ground today. We started with the grim reality of the isolated, distributed workforce and the death of the hallway conversation. We mapped out how enterprise-grade matching platforms solve the administrative bottlenecks that kill these programs. We explored the mechanics of AI matching, the critical necessity of HRIS integrations, and how to use leading and lagging indicators to prove undeniable financial ROI to the skeptics.
It's a lot to take in, but through it all, the overarching theme is intentionality. The modern landscape of distributed work requires deliberate, engineered relationship building. These software platforms provide the vital infrastructure that makes human connection possible at an enterprise scale.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you, our listener, with a forward-looking thought to mull over. We touched briefly on reverse mentoring, the concept of junior employees mentoring senior staff. The text mentions using platforms like 10KC or Cronus to power these cross-functional initiatives. But consider the logical extreme of this technology in the coming years.
Where this is all heading.
Right. If AI matching algorithms become perfectly optimized at analyzing hidden talents, diverse lived experiences, and hyper-specific skills across a massive global workforce, it could completely dismantle traditional corporate hierarchies.
Oh, it represents a profound structural shift. You move away from a rigid, top-down knowledge transfer where information only flows from the executives downward into this decentralized, dynamic web of peer-to-peer expertise.
Exactly. Imagine a future workplace where tenure and job titles no longer dictate authority or value, where a platform's matching algorithm identifies that a brand new entry-level hire in another country possesses a highly specific cultural insight or a niche technological skill that the 50-year-old CEO desperately needs to understand to launch a new product.
That is amazing.
And by seamlessly pairing them based on data rather than org charts, the software doesn't just manage a mentoring program. It turns every single new hire into a potential mentor for the executive team. It flattens the organization in a way we have never seen before, democratizing learning and elevating unheard voices.
It ensures that the best ideas and the most critical skills can surface from anywhere within the company instantly.
Thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. We hope this deep dive gave you the strategic insights and the practical playbook you need to navigate the future of work and build stronger, more connected teams. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a deep dive and can continually stay ahead of future business trends.
And to get the ultimate edge and really dive into the granular details of the vendor landscape we discussed, I highly recommend reading the full text of the source material.
Yes, read the full article by Felix Römer. We have put the link right in the show notes for you. So until next time, remember, the hallway conversation isn't dead. It just needs an upgrade. Keep connecting, keep learning, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.